everybody, and welcome back to Against the Fence. This is the place to be if you're obsessed and passionate about the UFC. UFC 271 has just wrapped up, and I'm joined with Liam this time. Welcome to the fan cam, Liam. How are you doing?
I'm very good. Thanks for having me here. I really enjoyed the night of fights and looking forward to breaking them down a bit further now.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's good to meet you at last, and for the first time, of course. And you're all the way over in Ireland. What part of Ireland are you from?
I'm from Cork, down
From
south.
Cork.
So,
I swear most of
yeah.
you fight fans are from Cork. There's a thing here, I swear. But let's dig into then the night of fights. What insane main card we have. Big question for you though. What was most shocking? Was it Cannonier's knockout of Brunson, or was it Tai Tuivasa's Derek Lewis knockout?
Um, I reckon it's probably the Cannoneer one, especially after seeing round one. It looked like Brunson was getting on top. And even there, when round two began, Brunson got that takedown. But it was when they came back up, Cannoneer seemed to catch him with a kind of, I think it was a left hook or something. And he just looked stung for the rest of the round. He seemed dazed, like his eyes just weren't in it. And then obviously when he landed that elbow towards the end, they got him on the ground. He just finished him off. So it probably was that one. But I suppose if you looked at the event from outside, it would have definitely been the Tuivasa one. If you didn't take like what actually happened within the fight,
Yeah.
I
Yes.
wasn't expecting him to get the win. I know two heavyweights, anything can happen, but he literally stood in the pocket with Lewis, which is crazy. Like because Lewis, not many people can take his power, and he did take the power, and then he landed that elbow, and he put him out cold. Like it was crazy.
Yeah. I mean, it was quite shocking. Part of me, I had Lewis. I think majority of people went Lewis by a knockout. It was probably the safest bet to make. But look, I'm happy that Tai Tuivasa got that win. I mean, where do you think Tai Tuivasa now sits in the rankings?
I think he's verging on the top five. Like even looking at the rankings, I think Chris Dawkins is 7, so he has to go above him because obviously Lewis beat him last time out,
Yeah.
and then you've Rosenstrike above him at 6. Looking at Rosenstrike's last few fights, like I don't see how he's still so high up the rankings. Like he'd one or two decent wins early on in his UFC career, but since then, like he's on a downward trajectory. So there probably will be a nice turnaround there. I think a lot will kind of rely on the UFC London fight card and Tom Aspinall's fight and see how he gets on against Volkov. So yeah, it's hard to see for the time being, but I reckon he'll be around 5 or 6 in the rankings. He'll definitely need one or two before he's anywhere near a title shot.
Yeah.
I just hope he doesn't get like a Cyril Gann or someone next, because I think Gann would just school him. Like he keep him at range. He just pick him off, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Do you know? And then that's actually it's quite a good point actually, because you feel like he's next. He's got to be going for that sort of top 5 area fight now. You know, you would have said going into this event, there's no way that Tai Tuivasa is going to be capable of taking out any of these top 5 guys. And look, he's done that tonight in impressive fashion. So I guess Cyril Gann could be an option next for Tai Tuivasa, as bizarre as it sounds. But I think it's purely because that fight would work in Cyril Gann's favour a little bit. What do you think? What do you feel is the best option for Tai Tuivasa next?
Yeah, I hope he doesn't get the Gann fight, because I do see it favouring Gann quite a bit. I would like maybe if Aspinall does get the win over Volkov, maybe England versus Australia. I think that could be a cracking
Oh,
fight.
mate, bring it.
Um,
Yes.
they they both be around the top 5. And like I reckon we're probably going to see Miocic and Jones, or Miocic, Jones, Gann, kind of some combination
Yeah.
of that. So like the top 3 or 4 probably taken up, and Ganu's probably going to be out for a while. So yeah, I think if Aspinall can get the win, I'd like to see that fight next. It's kind of it's a step for Nick. They're both of them really.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's still we can still safely say that we're going to undermine Taito Ivasa against these kind of big cats.
Yeah.
Really, the heavyweights that like to move around a lot and be a bit more technical in there, and I guess that would be a perfect fight for Aspinall. The UFC will probably, look to maybe, I don't know. The Volkov is a difficult fight for Aspinall. There's no getting about that. But, they could build him up quite well and put him up against a Tai Tuivasa, for an example, expecting him to win. You know, because he is this next
Yeah.
generation of heavyweight, we want to see him at least get a title shot at some point or put himself in line for a title shot. You know, but I guess he's got to get through Volkov first, really.
Yeah, that's no easy feat either. Like
No.
Volkov sometimes doesn't get the best reputation, I suppose, heavyweight, but he's always thereabouts. Like, so that is a big test for Aspinall as well.
Hmm. Okay, let's go back then onto the Jared Cannonier and Derek Brunson fight, because, you know, like we said, it looked like Brunson was going to happily take a decision. He had control of the fight. You know, Cannonier didn't really look like himself on the feet a little bit, and I guess that was because, you know, the takedowns were getting threatened.
Yeah.
You know, what did you make of Cannonier's performance as a whole then? And do you see him match up well against Izzy?
Um, I wasn't overly impressed with Cannonier's performance, to be honest. I thought round one, I thought Brunson dominated him. And like even at the start of round two, Brunson got him down quite easily early on. And it's when he did get back to his feet, he landed the right hook.
Hmm.
And it just seemed to overly affected Brunson in my eyes. Like Brunson, he was still dazed 3 minutes later, I felt. So I was kind of like, what's going on here? And then Brunson was a bit of kind of like deer in the headlights. He was just started swinging and his whole game plan went. So do I think he's a good matchup to Izzy? Probably not. Like he does got power, no doubt about it. But like he'll want to stand and kind of trade a small bit as well. And that's just going to feed into Izzy's game plan. So I don't see him being the best stylistic matchup in terms of possibly beating Izzy, to be honest.
No, absolutely not. I mean, it'd be a bit of a jousting match in terms of who can throw the hardest leg kicks. That's for sure. I mean, especially after seeing Izzy's performance against Rob just now. Yeah, I think in that fight I got a little bit of flashbacks of the Till fight against Brunson. You know, where it looked like Till had him hurt, but Brunson was somehow able to scramble and get the takedown. I said something during the watch, and I thought, you know, if Till was in better shape for that fight, he could potentially have beaten Brunson. What's your opinion on that?
I agree. Even like going into this fight, I fancied Brunson. Um, but then when I actually looked back over the Till tape, I was just considering that he beat Till. But when I look back over the Till fight, even when you saw Till walk into the ring, he was fairly chubby. He didn't really look athletic or in prime condition going in there. And like after the fight, I think he had some injury going into that fight, so his cardio and everything wasn't where it was meant to be. So definitely the win kind of it looked better on paper than it actually was in reality. Like Till had him rocked, and I think he caught Till then. Till got overexcited, I suppose, in there when he kind of got him. So yeah, like the win, it kind of papered over some cracks. So yeah, I reckon if Till was fully fit going in there, I don't think Brunson would have got the win.
Yeah, no, that is spot on, and obviously it would be great to. He's had injuries as Till. It would be great to see if Till can get back up, and you know, maybe too soon for a rematch against Brunson, of course. But you know, we'd like to see him maybe overtake Brunson in the rankings at some point down the line. But whether or not we see it, we'll have to see. Let's go on to the main event then itself, because you know, you said at the start, I think it might have been off there actually. You felt it was quite a slow paced fight than what you thought. I kind of predicted that it was going to be that way. What did you make of that overall event then? Of course, because I think didn't you pick Whittaker going into this?
When I was looking at the odds, I was going for Whittaker purely based on odds alone. But I did a breakdown on my channel and I kind of gave two options. One was going Whittaker just by win because the odds were so good, and the other was actually go Adesanya by decision. There was no point really looking at Adesanya for a straight bet if you did want to bet it, because like he was a massive favourite going into it. Like I had him at about 60% going into the fight, and I felt if he was going to do it, it was going to be a decision. But based on the odds alone, I thought Whittaker was definitely worth the bet. But obviously, after seeing that fight for the second time, I think Adesanya is just a step ahead in all departments. Like Whittaker did get him down a few times, but his scrambling ability was just, it was too good for Whittaker, really. He couldn't hold him there. I think Jan's weight definitely played a massive factor there. Because every time Whittaker did manage to get him down. He was straight back up. Like, I'd say if we looked at the control time, which I don't have on hand, I'd say it was relatively low throughout, to be honest, like ground control time. So yeah, like I thought it was a decent fight, like, but Adesanya seemed to be always in control, and then leg and calf kicks were doing damage throughout. Like, even I don't know, did you see Whittaker on the stool after the first round? I thought he was going to be out there after round two. The way he came out, he just looked like he was shattered. Like, but he did bounce back fairly strong. I thought he did well enough in round 2 and 3, but I always felt Adesanya was the more dangerous person in there. So yeah, I was actually surprised at the end. I don't know, did you hear the interview? But Whittaker, when they were talking to Whittaker, he actually felt that he had won the fight, which I found slightly surprising. And I don't think he was just saying it to be bravado. He seemed to actually mean it, like, which I found quite surprising, to be honest, because from what I saw, I thought Adesanya probably won the 5 rounds. Maybe you could have given 1 or 2 to Whittaker, but like at a push based on the takedowns alone. But like the damage was coming from Adesanya and all that. So yeah, I was surprised enough by that then, to be honest.
Yeah, the leg kicks played dividends massively from early when Israel was landing them over and over again, and robs someone who is very good at bouncing on his feet, in and out of range, and that definitely just put a whole stop to it. Izzy was just in control the whole time. But the question is like, who's going to be able to take him down and keep him down? Because it almost seems, very impossible at this stage. Like,
yeah,
is there anyone?
I don't know. I don't see Cannonier doing it, to be honest. The other person that's kind of been mentioned regularly is Pereira from their kickboxing days. But again, if that happens, that's going to be a purely kickboxing affair. So that would be interesting because he probably is at the same high level in that regards. The one fight I'd really like to see, but I don't see it happening, is the Kamaru Usman one. Usman is a wrestler. Like, if he got him down, I would be interested to see it. I know there might be a slight weight discrepancy, but Usman is a big welterweight, like when he's walking around out of camp. But I know they're good friends, so the chances of that are fairly small. But I reckon if the UFC are going to go to Africa, what other event would you want like that? Exactly. That would be crazy. Like, I think that would definitely be top 10 pay-per-views. Like, you don't really need that animosity between the two. Like, it would just be a beautiful fight, like, to be honest.
No, exactly. You've built up the narrative. I mean, already both guys are dominant in their respective divisions. Yes, okay, they're quite friendly, but look, money talks at the end of the day. Yeah. If the UFC are able to put enough money on the table, then maybe. I think I spoke to Damien at one point about this, and he sort of shrugged it off and sort of said there's no way that this fight would happen. They're just too close and things like that. But I don't know, man. If there's a high demand for it and the UFC want to pay, I think it's possible.
I'm the same. Initially, I thought no way.
Yeah.
But then Ali Abdelaziz came out and started talking about it. So I'm kind of starting to think, like, he's represented Usman. He hardly went out there on a limb on his own. It seemed a very dangerous tactic for him. Like, he could easily lose one of his probably, I know he's a lot of clients, but like Usman is definitely one of his top clients. I just thought it interesting when he came out and said the two of them should fight.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Usman's then career, I guess at the moment, he's on this absolute tear. People are calling him the best ever welterweight of all time and things like that. But, and we're in the era of money fights. If he's going to continue taking these, knocking off welterweights, fighting the likes of Leon Edwards and things like that, yeah, okay, you're going to build your legacy, but you're not necessarily going to earn the most amount of money. And, it could get to a point where he could just be like, look, I've done my bit in this division. I'm going to go after the money because it makes sense for me and my family and, set my family up for life. So, and he could go that way. Izzy's just signed a new contract, of course, with the UFC, and he's earning potentially $7 million a fight for that. Could he get a bit more out of an Usman fight? Maybe. So, I don't know. I like it. I think it does make sense.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, 'cause even for Usman, if he does beat Edwards, like who else is there in the division? You have Luque, but like other than that, I don't know. Unless you can think of someone, there's not too many other faces there. Like at the
No.
moment, well, Chimaev, I suppose, is coming up through the rankings and things like that. But yeah, I suppose he'd be the next main one afterwards. But again, he hasn't hit the top level yet
No,
of
not yet.
opponents. So
But
so
yeah,
yeah, that'll be interesting to
if he
see.
gets the Burns fight, he's one win away. So,
Yeah,
and that's the more interesting fight at welterweight, really, isn't it? Let's be honest, Shmaev and
definitely.
Usman. Before we wrap this up, then quick, let's get a quick prediction from you. In terms of what do you think is next for Robert Whittaker
I think
after the
that's a
loss?
tough one. I know you're mentioning Vittori on the main video, but I don't want her to see that happening myself. Um, like if you match up Vittori and Whitaker, they're both number 1 and 2. Where do they go if either beats one another?
I know.
Like you can't put either straight back into a championship clash.
No.
So I think the UFC are going to try and keep them separate, maybe, and maybe put a kind of contender like a Sean Strickland or something in against either of them. Because if he can get the win, then you can easily throw him into the next main event or the next title fight. Whereas if Whitaker goes off and beats Vittori, where'd you put him? You can't put him into a third fight with Adesanya. Then he's back to number 1 ranked, and he's just facing the next number 2 or 3 ranked
Yeah.
guy.
True.
So I don't see him facing Vittori. I don't know, to be honest. Strickland would be an interesting one. I'd like the Paulo Costa one, to be honest, but Costa's a bit of an anomaly. Like, who knows when he'll fight? He only wants to fight Vittori again, and I don't think Vittori should take that fight. Like after what happened the last time, do you know?
No. Yeah.
So
Why
yeah,
would
I'd like to
he?
see Costa. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to see Costa and Whitaker, to be honest, but unless he
Okay.
decides to cut back down to welterweight, like he's not an overly big middleweight, but I don't know, is it worth it at this stage in his career? Like we have seen other fighters like Dos Anjos going back down. Aldo has gone back down, so maybe, but I don't know.
Yeah,
His
I
options
did.
are limited. Well, yeah, go ahead.
It's true. Yeah, I did feel that maybe perhaps Whitaker looked a lot leaner coming into this fight. I don't know if that's just purely to try and match Izzy on speed a little bit, but then again, at the same time, it could just be me trying to compare them both size wise. Really, I'm not sure. That's what I kind of felt, but I could be a bit wrong on that. But yeah, I think that's a solid pick there. Paulo Costa could be potential, but yeah, Sean Strickland's knocking on that door and he's ready for whoever those. And look, we're all excited to see Strickland fight a top 5 guy, because he is this powerhouse that will just come forward and just keep coming forward. Liam, mate, you've had a great time on this fan cam. Your opinions have been much appreciated, my man. What's your channel? Give us a quick plug.
Yeah. So my YouTube channel is MMA_Fanalytics. So basically the crux behind it is I provide fight breakdowns. It's mainly the main event UFC fights, and also I break down the main event Bellator fights. If there's any specific fight breakdowns, I'll also take them into consideration. So we mainly look at the statistics behind both fighters, their past bouts, their keys to victory. And then we have a quick look at the odds at the end and try to give some value for money bets. So that's the crux of what we do. Or what I do, I suppose. So there's generally 1 to 2 videos per week coming out in breakdowns. It's a new channel, so I'd appreciate a subscribe if you like the channel.
Yeah, sure. We'll definitely be subbing you guys and helping you out. That's for sure. And we look forward to hearing from you again, Liam. This has been great. And if you guys have enjoyed it as well, pop a thumbs up on the video. And if you join for the first time, don't forget to subscribe, of course, as well. And we'll try and remember to pop a link to Liam's channel in the description as well. So do check that out as well. Liam, you've been fantastic. What an event. Hope you get some sleep, my man. And stay safe, and we'll speak soon.
Excellent. Thank you. And subscribe to both channels, guys.